All right, let's get right into it. For, well, forever, we've kind of pictured the brain as this incredibly complex machine, right? Like a computer, where the hardware is pretty much fixed from the day you're born. But what if that whole idea is just wrong? Today, we're diving into the work of neuroscientist David Eagleman, and we're going to explore this radical new concept, that your brain isn't static hardware at all. It's a living, electric fabric that is constantly, and I mean constantly, changing.
So, first things first, let's just tear that page out of the old science textbook. On the left, you've got the old model, the brain as fixed hardware. But on the right, that's the new reality. That's the live wired brain. And you can see, it's not hardware, it's much more like living software, a system that's actively rewriting its own code based on every single thing you do, see, and feel.
So what do we actually mean by a living electric fabric? Well, think of it like this. Right now, as you're listening to my voice, the vast, tangled jungle of neurons inside your skull is literally reweaving itself. It's becoming something slightly different than it was just a moment ago. Every single thought, every memory you pull up, every new skill you learn, it physically changes you.
The official term for all this is live wiring. And the key idea here is that the brain is anything but passive. It's an active, dynamic system that is physically changing its own wiring, its own circuitry, all to get a better handle on the world around it. This is the very mechanism behind how we learn, how we remember, and how we're so incredibly adaptable.
Okay, but that raises a huge question, doesn't it? If our brain is this flexible, what are the limits? I mean, how far can this self-rewiring process actually go? Well, the answer is way more extreme than you could probably ever imagine.
50%. Just look at that number for a second. 50%. In the context of the human brain, what on earth could that possibly mean?
That number, that's the percentage of a brain a boy named Matthew was left with. He suffered from such terrible seizures that doctors had to perform a radical surgery called a hemispherectomy. They removed an entire half of his brain. You'd think that's a situation you just can't come back from. But because his brain was live-wired, the remaining 50% just reconfigured itself. It took over the jobs of the missing half, and today he lives an almost completely normal life. It's just unbelievable.
Now, this same thing happens on a smaller but no less bizarre scale. Take the famous case of Admiral Horatio Nelson. After he lost his arm in battle, the part of his brain map that was dedicated to that arm went dark. But in the brain, there's no such thing as empty real estate. So the neighboring territory, the part that processes sensations from his face, started a hostile takeover. It invaded the silent arm area. And the result? When someone touched his face, he would literally feel it in his missing phantom hand.
So this incredible adaptability, it leads to an even more mind-bending idea. If the brain can rewire itself so dramatically, can we actually hack our own senses? Well, it turns out the brain has this amazing plug-and-play superpower that lets us do exactly that. Eagleman has this great way of describing it. He calls it the Mr. Potato Head model of the brain. And the big idea is this: your brain doesn't really care where it gets information from. Our eyes, our ears, our fingertips, they're just peripherals. They're like the USB mouse or keyboard you plug into your computer. They feed the brain electrical signals, and the brain just figures out what to do with them. It's a data-crunching machine.
And this has led to some absolutely wild experiments in something called sensory substitution. For example, researchers have fed data from a video camera to a little electric grid on a blind person's tongue, allowing them to see. They've used a vibrating vest to turn sound into patterns on the torso, allowing deaf people to hear. The brain just takes the data and learns to make sense of it. In fact, some deaf individuals get so good at lip reading they can tell what part of the country you're from just by seeing your accent.
But we can go even further than just substituting senses. We can actually add new ones. Take this belt. It has these little vibrating motors that always point to magnetic north. Now at first, it's just a weird buzzing feeling. But after a few weeks, something amazing happens. The users stop consciously feeling the buzz, and instead, they just develop a new intuitive sense of direction. They can just feel where north is, kind of like a bird, a true sensory addition. Now look, this isn't all about crazy surgeries or futuristic tech. These same principles are at work sculpting your brain every single day. And this is the part that really matters for you and me. You are what you do. Your daily actions are quite literally carving your own personal neural landscape.
And here is the physical proof. I mean, this is just incredible. If you look at a brain scan of the motor cortex, that's the part that controls movement, you can literally see the instrument a musician plays. A violinist has this enlarged area called the omega sign in only one hemisphere, the one that controls their super complex fingering hand. But a pianist, they have it in both hemispheres because both of their hands are doing these incredibly intricate dances on the keys. You could tell what they play without ever meeting them, just by looking at their brain.
And this flips a really common misconception on its head. You'd think an expert's brain must be working harder than a beginner's, right? Nope, it's the total opposite. The amateur's brain is on fire, it's buzzing with activity and effort. But the expert's brain, it's quiet, it's efficient, because through all that practice, they have burned that skill into their physical circuitry. They've built a superhighway just for that one task. So, how does this actually work? Well, think about learning to ride a bike. We've all been there. Your brain sends out a command. Okay, lean left a bit, and then you immediately fall over. That's feedback. So your brain takes that data, makes a little adjustment, and fine-tunes the parameters. You try again, and again, and again, and over time, that loop of trial, feedback, and adjustment physically carves a brand new, super efficient pathway in your brain. And that's that feeling when a skill finally clicks and becomes second nature.
When you put all of this together, it leads to this really powerful conclusion. You're not just a passenger living in your skull. You're not a ghost in the machine. You are the active sculptor of your own brain. Who you are isn't some fixed thing. It's a constant, ongoing process of becoming.
You know, this idea might sound new, but over 100 years ago, the father of modern neuroscience, Santiago Ramon y Cajal, he put it perfectly. Every man can, if he so desires, become the sculptor of his own brain. That just perfectly captures the whole empowering message here. We actually have agency over the physical structure of our own minds.
And thinking this way, it can fundamentally change how you see your own life. The most exciting part isn't just a snapshot of who you are today, it's knowing that you are always in the process of becoming something new. Your potential isn't set in stone, it's being woven, right now, moment by moment, in that living fabric inside your head.
And get this, just by listening and taking in the ideas in this explainer, you've already changed your brain. I'm serious, millions of tiny little connections have shifted and reformed. So the final question really isn't if your brain will change, it's going to. The real question is, how will you choose to direct that change? What skills, what knowledge, what new experiences will you use to sculpt yourself next?